welcome to this episode of Cali and Craig Talk. I'm Cali.
And I'm Craig.
And today we have a super special guest. We have author TreVaughn Malik Roach-Carter with us, one of our super special, amazing Deep Hearts YA authors. Welcome to the show, Trey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. Hey, so I have to start the show with this. Congratulations are in order for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us what happened. I feel like you have some exciting news to share with people.
Yes, just recently, like within the last day or so, I was offered a contract publication from Dreamsphere, another one of your imprints. So I have another book coming in the fantasy YA sphere. It's very exciting.
So excited. Yeah, we're so excited. So now we'll have you with Deep Hearts YA and we'll have you with Dreamsphere.
Yes.
Yes, I'm super excited. So my first question, we're going to keep things pretty relaxed with you because I personally have a lot of questions that just from following you on Instagram, I have tons of questions. So, but I also want people at home to know all about the cool stuff that you're doing that I already know because I got an inside look at your interview that you did for our Deep Hearts YA newsletter. So I got to see all kinds of cool stuff about you, but we should let everyone at home know too.
Yes.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right, so I am going to start. At what point, if you can remember, did you decide to be an author?
Yeah. From my memory, I think that was about seventh grade. My friends were getting this book from the library and they were reading it and they were really loving it. And I decided I was going to check it out, see how I felt. And I, just like them, became obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
That book was Maximum Ride by James Patterson.
Ooh.
That's a good one. I've read it.
It was a fantastic series. It had me in a chokehold. And I was just like, I really want to make people feel the way I'm feeling when I'm reading this. I think
like
that's
that.
where it started for me in my memory. My grandmother will say that it happened long before that. I have been writing things since I was little, but I just don't have any memory of that.
Oh, but grandma does. And I bet she's right. Does she
Yeah.
tell you all the stuff that, does she have anything that you wrote when you were little?
No, she just says she remembers me like writing little plays and scenes and making my sister act them out, which
Oh my
sounds
gosh. That's adorable. Do you think you would write plays one day? Would you be
I
interested in that?
I was going down that track for a little while. I was acting in like high school and I was
Oh.
like, I thought my career path was going to take me in the director writer route. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just books always kept pulling me back.
Yeah, yeah. I did drama in high school too. I love acting. Acting is so fun. Like it's so I don't have time for it now,
Yeah.
but it's so fun. And I think that there are a lot of similarities between screenwriting and writing books and stuff. So I would be interested. I bet that you would be good at that based on what I've seen of your writing. I bet you would be really good at that. Maybe
I
later on.
yeah, I really love the idea of like writing for TV. Um,
Hmm.
Never opposed to that if that opportunity were to come around.
Okay, well, we're putting it out there.
It's a hard field to break into, but
Yeah. Yeah,
always
for
glad.
sure. For sure.
So the next question here is tell us which book that you've written is your favorite, and I will give you full permission. It does not have to be the one that we published. So
Oh
if your
yeah,
other
for
books are
sure.
your favorite, totally fine.
Yeah, we're totally fine with that.
That is a really hard question.
It is because we're making you choose between like I don't know about you, but my characters are like my babies. So
Yeah.
like you're making me choose between my kids and it's not cool. But we're still gonna ask you to do
Hmm.
it.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess. Okay, I feel like there's two answers to this, which is
That's fine. You
You
can
can
give
give
them
both.
both then. You can give them both. You can give them both.
so I recently, I think it was published last year. I wrote a collection of short stories called Her Daughters. Um,
Hmm.
and it's a collection of nonfiction short stories based on three generations of women in my family. So that whole project was just really close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
Helped me to get to like know the women in my family a little bit better and like really connect to family history, some that I already knew and some that I didn't know. So just that whole project was like really close to the heart. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think that is answer number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then answer number two, the project that was just accepted by Dreamsphere, it's called Bryn's Virtues currently, but that name might change during the
Yeah. Yes.
process.
Yeah.
It there's a lot of moments in there that are like really tender and emotional
Mm,
that kind of surprised me when I was writing them. And I think back to those like scenes and paragraphs a lot.
Mhm.
And I just very fondly think of them. So
don't
I think,
you love that? I
yeah,
love that feeling so much. I love when I read, and I'm not a very poetic writer. Like I've said that to plenty of people before. Like I just don't, I think I can tell a good story, but I'm just not very poetic. Like I don't know that there's going to be many quotes that people are going to pull and be like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. But they might still get goosebumps from it because they're like, oh, I really like, I felt that. You know what I mean? And I love going back and reading something like a scene I wrote that gives me like the goosebumps. It makes me so happy. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, that was a good answer. Two answers are always acceptable.
For sure. For sure.
I kind of thought your first answer was going to be, or her
Her
daughters. Yes.
daughters.
Yeah, because I could tell that was an important project to you. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's really, it's really sweet too. Um, okay. Now, put you on the spot here. No, I'm just kidding. It's really not a hard question. I promise. I promise. I want to talk about the Aziza Chronicles
Mhm.
just a little bit. Um, for anyone who's not familiar with that, could you tell the listeners a little bit about that book? Because I love everything that you said in the newsletter about the book. And I think that everyone deserves to hear that. So, first of all, if after you listen to this, Trey's newsletter is going to be out on the 19th, the Deep Hearts YA newsletter, and you can read all about that. But if you're not, then I'm going to have him tell you right now about the book.
So sorry to interrupt, but I've heard so much about this interview already and I've not seen it. Like I'm looking forward to the newsletter. So there's your sales pitch.
I've been bragging about it, okay? Because I like Craig and I know like people are probably so tired of hearing me talk about it, but Craig and I are together like all day. And I have been nonstop with like, I'm like, oh, Trey did this. Oh, Trey, you have to see what Trey did. Trey did like, and so yeah, he's heard a lot about your interview. So yeah, I'm sure he's excited too. So go ahead and tell us about the Aziza Chronicles.
Yeah, so the Aziza Chronicles, it's a fantasy YA about young a young Black girl who was raised by her single mother, and she discovers that the father she never knew belongs to this race of mythological African warriors, and she's inherited magical powers from him,
Mhm.
while simultaneously being chosen by this race of people called the Aziza to be their guardian against evil. So she is now suddenly thrown into this supernatural world, and she has to use her new powers to fight off demonic forces, all while there is an unseen entity working in the background trying to manipulate her into using her newfound powers for to enact an apocalyptic prophecy. Um, that's the gist of what it's about.
Dope. It's so cool. It's so cool. Oh my God. I think people should buy, I think people will buy the books just from that. You don't even have to say anything else. What else do you have to say? Mike, that was really good. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm going to say this. Craig and I were looking for some stuff to read recently. And if I would have seen that, well, we've already read it, but if I hadn't read it before, like that would have been it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
come on, Trey. Like how you knew it was good when you said that, right? Like you practiced that because that was
Yeah,
That
really
was
good.
like a sales pitch in 50 words or less. That was good.
I
thank you.
mean,
It's been a lot of I've been working on that for a long time, like the book
yeah,
itself. And in that is pitching the book. Uh,
yeah. You
I
could give lessons on that, what you just did. Okay. I'm being serious with you. Like that. That is hard. What you just did was hard. And Trey does not have a script, and Trey did not know any of these questions that I was going to ask him, by the way, for people at home. He had no idea. He's come into this completely blind, and he just answered that. He didn't look at his computer. He didn't look at anything. He's looking straight at the camera at Craig and I, and just did that right off the cuff, which I'm thoroughly impressed. Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just, it's repetition. Like,
Yeah.
when you're pitching it, that pitch is a lot shorter.
Mhm.
And I think after the book is actually a thing you can hold in your hand, you can lengthen it. So I like always pitching to like bookstores, or I'll
Yeah.
pitch to friends and they're like, oh my God, my friend Trey, he wrote a book. Let him tell you about it. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I have to talk about this now.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's in the book.
Yeah. My God. Well, I don't want to dork out about you too much, but God, that was real cool. So for anyone at home that's a new author, that's how it's done. What he just did is how it's done. That's how you sell a book. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And also, I know we talked about this before, but I have to ask you now, because on your Instagram story, well, it's not on your stories now, it's an older reel. But you're on this swing in this one reel, and that swing is so freaking cute. Whose swing is that? Where was this swing? Because it looks so magical, like you were in fairyland or something.
That was, I don't remember the name of the place now, but it was this arcade bar in San Francisco.
Oh,
Yeah, so the like bottom floor was like all decked out with these arcade games, and then like I think there was like two bars, and then upstairs it was like flowers and clouds and unicorns and that swing.
oh
It
my
was
God.
this atmospheric place. I think that video was taken after my graduation ceremony.
Hmm.
Like COVID messed up a lot of things, but
Yeah.
one of the things that messed up was having a graduation ceremony. So then
Yeah.
a few years later, my school put on a like makeup ceremony, uh,
Uh-huh.
still in town. So I did that, and then some friends and I went out to the bar after. I think that was one of the bars we went to, if I remember correctly. Someone who
That
was there might be like, "That's not the bar we went to that night," but oh well, they're not here. So
They're not here. They'll correct you later on. You'll get the message later on. Hey, but you know what? That's how you know who listened to the podcast.
yeah.
Is if they correct you, then you're like, yeah, I know you listened, right? You'll know then. I went on the swing the other night at the beach for the first time in like, I don't even know. It was like 20 years or something. And I was so freaking happy, Trey. I love a swing. Honest to God. Like I have not been on a swing in so long. It was so fun.
One of those joys you forget about in adulthood, but like
Hmm.
all love them as kids, and
Yeah.
you don't have access to them, and they just leave your memory.
No, but like where I live, there's a park by the beach, and we always go to, like we often go to the beach like in the evening, like we'll go to just walk a little bit. I don't do it that much anymore, but before I worked with Craig, I was going to the beach pretty much every evening and walking on the beach. But the park that's there, there's always kids there. And obviously, I'm not going to be like a jerk and take a swing from a kid. But so the other night, finally, there was no one there. And my kids were like, Mom, you want to go on the swings now? I was like, yes. So I like ran over and got on the swings, and I was so freaking happy. It was like the greatest thing ever. I wish I had a swing set in my backyard now. Now I'm like kind of questioning whether we get a swing set or not.
I say go for it.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We also have like a nature preserve behind our house, and there are like bobcats and coyotes and stuff. So, I mean, I'm not of the mind that like a bobcat is gonna come after me. Like I'm not afraid, because I do think like, they're gonna stay where they are and I'm gonna stay where I am. But I don't have like a written contract from the bobcat that says he's not gonna attack me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm that comfortable with that. You know what I mean?
That is an understandable worry, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And the coyotes too. The coyotes might get a little hungry. I don't know. Not really sure. So I think the swing set probably not, but maybe one day.
I have to say, with a beach nearby and a nature preserve, it sounds like you live in a very lovely area.
I do. I really do. Thank you. We actually we moved to Tennessee, and we thought that was going to be like the best ever. Because I don't know, Tennessee is beautiful. It really is. It's just a different culture, but we missed the beach. Like the beach is just, there's something super calming about the beach for us that like, if I'm super stressed out, Trey, like if I just feel like overwhelmed, like I just ask my husband if we can just go to the beach and just, it sounds like cliche, but like just a couple minutes, like sitting by the water and listening to the ocean and just like taking it all in. And you realize like how small you are. It's just like something about that just like brings you right back around. So yeah,
I can relate. I feel the same way. I
yeah.
remember on a family vacation, we went on a cruise once. And
Hmm.
me and my cousin, we went on a walk around the deck and we were looking out and you see nothing but water. There's no,
Hmm.
oh my God, I love this. This is like peace. This is serene. Like this
Hmm.
is my moment. And she's like,
Hmm.
this is terrifying. I hate this. I need to see land and know that I'm okay. And it was just very two opposites.
Well, Craig, I have been trying to sell Craig on the beach since we became friends because Craig had zero desire to go
I
to the
hate
beach
the
whatsoever.
beach. Hate the
Yeah.
beach. But
But
to be fair, I'm talking about Canadian prairie beaches, which are completely different than like ocean beaches. Because Callie and I have talked about the bugs. Like there's a couple weeks in the summer in Manitoba where you're completely swarmed by fish flies. So if you don't know what a fish fly is, you can Google it. Just imagine about 1,000, no, more like 10,000 of them on the beach on the one day that you go.
Yeah,
mm-mm.
So I have bad memories.
I
Yeah,
can also understand that. I
Mhm.
despise bugs, especially
me
ones.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. And that was the thing, Trey, about Tennessee was that we didn't know that there were these things called stink bugs. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
those?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. We don't have those here where I live, but when we moved when we moved to Tennessee, like as soon as we got there, there were like we got there at night. Like so like the moving truck got there at night and we pulled in and like the lights were on. There were all these bugs like flying all over the place. And so like I'm whacking them with the shoe, right? And then like the neighbor comes over because you know people from Tennessee are very helpful. And so they came over and they were like, "Hey, don't hit those things." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "They if you hit them, like the stuff that comes out of their bodies calls the rest of them over. So you're just drawing them in." And I was like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" And they were like, "Shoo them away or vacuum them up." And I'm like, "Vacuum them up." So like for 2 years, my husband and I are like vacuuming these freaking
Oh,
bugs whenever they would come around. And they came around all the time. It was crazy. And also gnats. Like gnats are really common in Tennessee. And that was something I was not prepared for because I'm like you, like I do not like bugs. I cannot. And so like when we had the furniture moving in, like people were leaving the front door open. And anytime people came over, they would leave the front door open. And like the front door of my house is open. I'm like, dude, you gotta close the door here. What the hell? And plus, I'm used to living in like hot and heat. So we also don't want to let the AC out, which that's not something in Tennessee you have to worry about really mostly. But still, there's freaking like bugs coming in. So we had the pest control guy there, Trey, and I'm like, well, there's gnats all over the place. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, I don't want the gnats in the house. And he's like, well, you just ignore them. I'm like, I can't ignore gnats in my house. And then there was ladybugs too. Like I thought like ladybugs are pretty and they're cute. And like you're like, oh, it's a cute little ladybug. Bullshit. Go to Tennessee and there's like 50 of them inside your house. They're not so cute anymore.
I would not be able to deal with that.
No. So Callie was out. I was like, we're out. We're not staying here anymore. That and the snow. I also don't like I can't do the winter. Like this is really nice. This was a really nice winter being back home because now like we have sun 24/7. I don't have to worry about it. But the snow looks pretty when Craig sends it to me. I just don't want to drive in it.
Yeah, I really like the winter and the snow. I don't like feeling the cold. Like I
Yeah.
have that while being comfortable.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. But it's pretty to look at. Like we had a white Christmas when we were there and that was really pretty, but like that was it. That was the extent. Like I was like, cool, like the week of Christmas, let's have it. And then December 26th, can we just like go away? Go back to normal. So that's how I felt. And I guess we should go back to asking you
Yeah,
more
so like to
questions.
back up about 2 hours, So
Oh
you
my
told us
God.
about your series.
Sassy.
You told us about the Aziza Chronicles. So let's back up a little bit further from that. Where or how did that first idea come about? That spark that always, like, I'm sure you can relate. You get that spark and you're like, oh my God, I need to write this. So can you bring us back to that point?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, at first, these User Chronicles looked wildly different than what it is now. Um, so I guess should start there. I was really inspired by two shows that I really liked. One was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the other
Mm,
was Teen Wolf.
mhm,
And they're both just really like A plus on this like ensemble cast, and then like this really expansive supernatural world where like everything kind of coexists together. And it all just like feels very consistent and cohesive. And I just really loved that idea. So I wanted to do something along those lines. Um, so when I started writing these User Chronicles, I was really drawing inspiration from just the things I liked about those shows. And I was writing in a place that wasn't really me at the time.
mhm,
It was not like this Afrocentric kind of like uh, African mythology based thing. I was writing
mhm,
like fairies, like the Fae, and
mhm,
justice was white, and there was no Africa, there was no anything. And then so that's really where it started, and,
mhm,
and I kind of struggled to like finish it, but I was
mhm,
like writing it, I would stop, I would go back to it. It was like it took years.
mhm,
One day was when I was in college, I went to school for writing. So I was reading a lot more than I ever really did, just because, when you're studying writing, you read other writers, like
mhm.
those textbooks or novels, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Um, and we started reading Nnedi Okorafor, and she really just writes with Black people in mind.
Mhm,
All of her work is like either in Africa or like inspired by Africa or just like
mhm.
Black culture in general. And I really loved the way I felt when I was reading her books.
Oh, I love that.
I was like, I could do this. Like, this is something I can do. I don't
Mhm,
know why I'm not doing this. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that this is
mhm,
probably what I should be doing. So I
mhm,
reworked, I think it was just called the Justice Montgomery Chronicles at that point, but I reworked it, and then it became these User Chronicles. And it really took off from there. I was like really writing it. And then I had finished it, and then I kind of sat back and looked at it, and I was writing this story, and it was Black, it was Afrocentric, it was this beautiful thing. Um, but it was this girl in a love triangle with two guys, and I was like, there's a part of me that's still not here. So
mhm,
queer. I
mhm.
took out one of those guys and like remade the character to a girl, and then I sort of reinserted her into the dynamic. And then yeah, that's I feel like that deviated from the question of where the idea came from.
No, it
Oh,
didn't.
no,
It
that's
didn't. That was
fine. Yeah,
completely organic. Yeah.
that is the answer. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that, I mean, I've certainly had this myself. I start writing a project, but I'm not true to myself and I'm not true to the story. And so I struggle. But then when you latch on to, oh, this is me in the book, this is what I want to tell in the book, and this is true to the story, that's where it takes off. And that's where the strongest writing comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that so much that you found like the personal connection and then the story like came alive for you again. Like, cause you said like you were struggling and you were stuck and then like you put yourself in it and then I love that so much. Like the way you explained that is so that's the best part of writing. That was really, really cool. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to ask you questions all day. You just make people happy answering questions. Um, okay, but I do have like more author questions, but I also have some other questions. I gotta look at the time. How long have I had you
We
for?
can jump around if you want.
I am definitely gonna jump around. Yeah, I am going to. Okay, so because I got some stuff here, because I do talk to you on Instagram through your stories because you post stuff and I'm like, oh my God, what is your life? Because you post the coolest stuff sometimes. So for anyone who does not follow Trey, you should be following Trey on Instagram because Trey will make you just don't follow Trey when you're hungry. Like, do not watch his stories when you're hungry because Trey posts like the best food ever all the time.
Mhm.
Like all the time. And anyway, you live in New York City now, right?
Yeah.
So where were you born though?
I was born in California. I was born in the
Mhm.
Central Valley. So just like the smack dab middle of nowhere in California.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the Central Valley, uh, basically my whole life. And then I went to school in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for about 5-ish years. And then I moved to New York last year.
How do you like it there?
I like it a lot. I think I'm a city person, uh,
Yeah.
for the most part. I think like town life has its charms and I will miss aspects of it, but I think my heart will always take me back to a city. Like San,
Yeah.
yeah,
So was that like, is it like a big adjustment for you though? Because I mean, in New York City, like the last time, I mean, most people don't drive there. You just taking taxis and subways all the time, no?
I mean, luckily for me, I was in San Francisco before, and
So
it's
you
kind
were
of,
used to it.
yeah, I never felt the need to learn how to drive. So which was probably why cities also work for me, just because
Yeah.
I love to walk. I'm a huge walker. If if I'm not crunched for time and the distance is like under 40 minutes, I will walk instead of hopping on a train or a bus.
Man, good for you. I am
And
so lazy.
I just think it's like really, I don't know, I can as long as I know where I'm going, I can just allow myself to like go on autopilot and just get like lost in the thoughts or
Yeah.
enjoy the nice scenery and see new things that I wouldn't see if I was on the train or the bus.
That's true. Yeah. But you know, sometimes that happens to me when I'm driving and I don't know how I get from point A to point B because like I'll like totally like freaking zone out. And then I like it's like my body is on autopilot and you like you said you never learn how to drive, but I'm telling you right now, this is one of the scariest things. Like I drive
Mhm.
somewhere and then I get there and I'm like I don't even know what the hell I was thinking about, but I got there. And that's a really weird feeling. That
Yeah.
happened to you, Craig, right?
Yeah, like I leave the garage and then I'm at work and it's like, how did I get there? Like I drove through downtown somehow.
Because you're thinking about a million other things, but like your brain's doing its job. I don't know. Some part of it's doing
Yeah.
its job.
Haven't
One
gotten in an accident for a long, long time, so it's working.
Me too.
back when I was trying to, I went through very many potential, like a lot of potential careers.
Hmm.
I toyed with psychology for a little while.
Hmm.
One of the things I learned when I was studying psychology is that that is a very common experience. And it's part of it is the brain filtering out things. So your brain can't possibly remember every single thing you do. So the
Hmm.
brain is constantly filtering out things that are like less important. So it's
Hmm.
not necessarily that you like were checked out during the drive, but your
Hmm.
brain's like, I do this drive every day. I don't need to store every
Yeah.
detail of this drive. Um, so I
I-
just another
Isn't that interesting? My husband would think that's very interesting because I can bring up shit from like 16 years ago and he's like, how the hell you remember that? But it'd be like something really dumb like that happened. You know what I mean? But my brain holds on to that, Trey. Why does it remember that? Like
I
he'll remember he didn't like if he didn't share a milkshake with me or something like 16 years ago. I'm like, remember that time that I wanted to sip of milk? That's actually never happened. It's never happened. I have to say that because my husband does listen to every episode of the podcast and he'll be like, I cannot believe you said I didn't share some with you. Because he has always. But you know what I mean? Like brains hold on to weird stuff sometimes. And I don't know why.
yeah, I only did the psychology thing for like a year, so I can't even begin to answer.
Okay.
That's
Well,
a year two question.
my goodness. My mom thought she was a psychologist. She's an old Italian woman. She thought she was everything, Trey. I don't know like how common that is for people to have that in their families, but in Italian families, it's very common. Like we all have like the mother thinks like she's a doctor, she is a psychologist, she is a lawyer, she is a teacher, like she's everything. And like she's the end all be all answer for everything. So if she were here, she would give me the reason for why my brain was based on nothing except for her own opinion, which she would spew as a fact, by the way. The most dangerous kind of person, the person who spews something as fact that knows nothing. For sure. But oh, you know what? You could ask him a question
Sure,
now.
I can ask a question. Since we've veered over to like New York City as a topic, I'm very curious. You've lived there for about a year now, I think. What
Yes.
is your favorite part about New York City?
Um, I think just like there's always something to do. Um,
Hmm.
I might not always go out and do these things, but like I know they're there.
Hmm.
And there's a very big like diversity of food, which I really
Oh,
Hmm.
I think someone once told me if you ate at every restaurant in New York City, it would take you like 73 years.
oh.
No, I don't know, like I like those options, even though I know
Yes.
I'll never get to even half of them, but I like that they're there.
Well, you're perfect because that was another question that I had because I was with your Instagram feed, I'm always messaging you about your food. So I want to know what the best thing is that you have eaten in, it can be in New York City, but you also sent some pictures. Was it Texas too recently that you went to? Where was that recently that you went to? What was it? It was something you had posted something and I was like, what was that? It was huge. It was
Oh, that was a Texas themed restaurant.
Oh, it was a Texas themed restaurant. Okay. I'm like,
Yes.
do you go to Texas too?
I, I had a friend who was moving away from New York, and
Hmm.
she's now living in Texas.
Hmm.
For her going away party, she went to the most like offensively themed Texas restaurant she could find. Um, and that was it. It was just a lot of Texas, and the drinks were super Texas sized,
Hmm.
drinks as big as your head, which was a lot of fun.
They looked amazing. They looked amazing. It looked amazing. And it was really early in the morning though when you said it, when you posted it. And I was like, well, it's a little early for me, but I think I could still get down with that. But what
Oh,
is the best thing that you've eaten so far, you think?
that's a good question. I'm really partial to. I guess it's not really an answer to the question. I really like Indian food. I'm
Hmm.
always looking for Indian food,
Hmm.
and I've been on a constant quest to find like my spot here. I
Hmm.
haven't found it yet.
Hmm.
If anyone's listening, and they know Indian food restaurants in New York, find me on the internet. Just give me your suggestions. Um,
Hmm.
that's something I'm always looking for. Uh,
Hmm.
the best thing I've had is probably there's this little pie shop. I think it might actually be called the Little Pie Shop.
Hmm. Hmm.
Honestly, like the best pie I've ever had in my entire life.
Really?
That Little Pie Shop. Yeah, it was I think I had like a sour cream Dutch apple pie.
Oh,
It was just like I don't know what they did to that crust, but it was
it was
mind.
good.
Yeah.
Do you like a flaky crust or a crummy crust?
I think I could appreciate them both, but I'm
Hmm.
partial to flaky crust.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Flakiness is like buttery, flaky goodness. Like I love it.
Warm or cold pie?
Warm. Cold, I guess it depends on the flavor, but warm mostly.
I like warm too. Cool Whip or no Cool Whip?
Cool Whip.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
we roll.
nice
Yeah.
touch.
Sweet. We can have pie together someday then because I want the warm pie with like the Cool Whip on top for sure. My husband's pie, like he'll like he's like easy on the pie, heavy on the Cool Whip. So we're like 3 scoops of Cool Whip and like this tiny ass piece of But Craig doesn't like fruit that much in dessert. You like pie though, Craig? I can't remember if we talked
Uh,
about pie
I'm iffy on
specifically.
pie. My stepdad makes a ton of pie when he's in town. So to answer your questions that you didn't ask me, I prefer my pie cold because I find
I
because
was gonna you next. Oh my God. I was going to ask you, did you hear me? First, I asked you about the pie to see if you even like pie. And then when you gave me that answer, I was going to say cold or warm. And then I was going to say it because why would I ask someone if they like their pie cold or warm first if I don't even know if they like pie? Because my best friend told me he does not like fruit in desserts. So how did I start the question? How did I start the question?
True.
I started.
Do you like pie? Yes. So I prefer cold pie because I find the flavors are better. And cold pie, I find when it's warm, the flavors aren't as vibrant. At least with apple pie.
Yeah.
I don't really eat Saskatoon pie, which is the other thing he makes, or rhubarb pie. I
What the
don't.
hell is a what's a wait, what's a what? What's a Saskatoon pie?
Question. No, I've never.
I think in your country they're known as June berries or service berries.
Nope, don't know either of those. And I bet you Trey doesn't either. Do you know
I've
them?
I've heard of June berries. I've
What's a
never
Juneberry?
heard of the application though.
So they're kind of like a woody blueberry, I guess would be the way to describe it. So they
Oh,
grow wild all over the place. Like you can just go to the
oh,
park over there and pick buckets and buckets, but we've
really?
got a couple bushes in our front yard. And we get bigger, juicier ones here.
Nice. Okay.
hmm So I like
So,
cold pie, but I don't really.
would you like Cool
Yeah.
Whip on your pie, best friend? Yes or
So
no?
we're not allowed to have Cool Whip when we're over there. It's always homemade whipped cream.
Okay, well, that's
So I
fine.
have homemade whipped cream.
Would you like the homemade whipped cream on your cold pie, best
I
friend?
would like the homemade whipped cream on my pie. And then my
Easy.
stepdad also makes like pumpkin pie, but if we don't have
Ooh.
pumpkins, he makes it for, like he mashes a pumpkin himself.
Mm,
But if he doesn't have pumpkin, he'll make it from butternut squash, and
mm,
it's really good. Like you wouldn't
yeah.
know it's like okay. So weird off-topic story. We were having dinner at my parents' house, or my mom and my stepdad's house, and he served this butternut squash pie, but he called it pumpkin pie.
Mm,
My sister came over, she ate it, she's like, this is really good. And I told her, oh, it's not pumpkin, and
mm,
just left it at that. And she's like, oh
mm.
my God, is it cat food? But the other thing I want to jump in with, Trey, I think you would quite enjoy Winnipeg, believe it or not, because Winnipeg has the best restaurant culture in Canada. Here
Okay.
you'll find all like the little mom and pop owned restaurant, different food ethnicities all over the world. And I think I have the most popular Indian restaurant just down the street from me.
Oh,
It's not a eat in place, it's a takeout, but it's like cold takeout. Like you take it home and you reheat it. There's constantly a traffic jam at the end of my street all day, every single day. All the like people from India go there. See, that's how you know it's the right one.
yeah, that sounds promising.
Yeah.
Wow.
Keep
Okay.
that in mind if I'm ever there.
Yeah. For
Not many people come to Winnipeg. So if you're ever stuck here because your plane like made a detour,
What does a typical day look like for you, Trey? Do you make time to write every day or do you not get to write that often?
Oof. I try to make time. I feel like I'm rarely successful at that. Um, every so often I'll get in a groove and I'll write every day. Um, I am a big fan of NaNoWriMo, so I feel
Mm-hmm.
like most of November I am writing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, I mean I feel like last last month I was in a good groove where I was writing every day for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I moved and then things got a little hectic and then I
Yeah.
stopped writing. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess short answer is no, I do not write every day, but
Yeah.
I tell myself that I should.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
are you a write at home or write in the coffee shop? Or do you have other routines tied to your writing?
I am I most often I write at home. I did try the writing in a coffee shop a few times. I feel like it worked for me, but I also felt like I was spending too much money at the coffee shop.
That is the risk. Yes.
So yeah, there was a little bit of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, we started doing writing sprints. We do writing sprints once a week now together. But we did, I don't know if you saw it on our post. We did the Hemingway experiment a couple weeks ago. Didn't work out that well for me. Worked out well for Craig. I had like
Just
40
fine.
I had like 45 mistakes. Like I called the main character of my story the wrong name like 20 times when I wrote. And then there were way too many errors to count. But I always think it's interesting just the different methods that people use, when they're writing. So I know like for us, it works really well because at least we have dedicated time once a week that we're going to sit down and make sure that we write. So we usually do like 2 sprints, like back to back, 20 minutes each. So that's helped. I know like for Craig and I, because we were writing like sporadically, but it's just different, because some people don't like the pressure of having a schedule either. Like some people, if you tell them like, hey, we're going to do a sprint this week, they're like, oh no, I can't be told what I'm going to write. Like I have to write when inspiration hits, but it works for us.
When you guys do it, you guys sit down together and like
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I find really helpful. Uh,
Mhm.
I used to be a part of a writers group who would meet, I want to say once a week, and we would just
Mhm.
sit in silence on Zoom, and we would
Yeah.
all, and we would do a check-in at the end, and
Yeah.
then sometimes we'll be like, I didn't really get much done, or sometimes we'd be like, I got this much done, and it was just really
Yeah.
nice to like be not only in community, but like have other people there to hold you accountable. Like you're
Yeah.
sitting down and you're like, we're all here to write, so like you have no excuse but to write.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's a difference in people too. Cause like, you have those groups and those sometimes they're good for people. And then, like I said, there's people who are like, this is too much pressure for me. But, but I think they're super helpful. Oh, you know what? That was my question. Do you need to ask a question now?
Oh, I need to ask a question.
Yes, you do.
So are we going back to off
We
writing
can go to
question?
whatever we want.
Okay.
This is our show, Callie and Craig, whatever we
Uh,
want.
okay.
But we can't keep him hostage that much longer. 38, 48.
Let's see here. Um, oh, let's jump to this one. Tell us about the Honor Project.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the Anna is a literary magazine. Um, we've been going for about 4 years now. Um, so the Anna was originally started by our lovely editor-in-chief, London Pinkney. She really wanted to, so she started the magazine with a bunch of people that we were in school with, and we were all in school for creative writing. And one thing that you kind of realize when you're in like the writing academic space or just the literary world in general, um, is that there's a lot of tokenism and exploitative like relationships with
Mhm.
a lot of the things that like we were reading or like the literary canon like elevates from like brown writers or queer writers are all really like tough and traumatic and like
Mm,
my identity brings me pain kind of thing.
yeah.
London really wanted to make a literary space where queer and writers of color weren't like expected to write from a place of pain. So she just wanted to make a space where writers and artists can just exist. So
Mhm.
she created the Anna, and we like to say that it is a celebration of humanity.
Mhm.
And it's just like you bring you in the form of your art, and then we will look at it and publish it.
Oh, that's so
She
cool.
she started that about 4 years ago. Um, and I came on during the second issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we publish 3 online issues a year and then 1 print issue. It's like the best of the previous issues of that year, uh,
Mhm.
along with like some exclusive print materials. Yeah, we publish like all kinds of, we've published fiction, nonfiction, like any prose, poetry, and visual art.
Oh,
So
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you guys accept submissions like all year long? Or is
Yeah,
it
basically, pretty much on a rolling basis. When one submission period ends, the next one will open up fairly soon after that.
that's really cool. I love
So
that.
where can people go to find out about the Honor Project?
So, you can find us at We Are the Anna. Anna is spelled A-N-A. On all social media, Instagram and Twitter, We Are the Anna. And then you can also find us at wearetheanna.com.
That's so exciting. I love that. I love that. I love that she decided that. And I love that you were there like basically from the beginning, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I was published in the first issue, and then between the first and second issue, she was expanding the team, and she asked me to come on. So I'm on the fiction side, uh,
Hmm.
and then my other fellow fiction editor, Santos, and we read the fiction and prose submissions, and we select what will be published.
Well, now you brought up poetry, and I have to say this because, and I know this is not, it's not related to the Anna, so forgive me, but I have to know. But so did you do anything fun for Valentine's Day? Because whenever I think about Valentine's Day, I think about poetry, and you mentioned all this lovey mushy stuff that just made me feel all warm. So I gotta ask if you did anything for Valentine's Day yesterday.
Me and my partner are currently long distance. So
Oh,
yeah, he's also in school, which is the reason for the distance.
mm-hmm,
He was busy, and then we're not together, so we didn't really get to do anything.
mm-hmm.
I sent him a little Valentine's in the mail.
Cute.
And
Aw.
what I did for the actual day, me and my housemate, we ate Valentine's desserts and watched Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Dip. What kind of dessert did you have?
Cheesecake and chocolate covered strawberries.
Yes, my hero. Oh my God, I love cheesecake so much. It's so good. I did not have cheesecake yesterday, though. We
Neither
had,
did I.
no, Craig and I did not have a romantic Valentine's Day because Craig did, what did we? Oh, we did sprints.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did sprints for
Oh,
Valentine's Day. That's what we did. So we
I
did
think
sprints. Yeah.
there's something romantic about like
Yeah.
treating yourself to art on Valentine's.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then we did reading after and we played games. So actually, you know what? We had a great Valentine's
Hmm.
Day. We did. We didn't eat any junk food though. That's Craig, next
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
my husband and I went to get Mary
We
Brown, so like fried chicken
okay.
sandwiches.
Okay.
Mm.
So I had some junk.
I'm talking about dessert.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying the next time for
So
Valentine's Day, we went
the
dessert.
yeah, the guy at the Mary Brown's chicken gave us free cookies. So I
Oh,
did
what a
have dessert.
nice guy. What a
Yeah.
nice person. I did not have dessert yesterday. What did I have? I don't I think oh, I had chicken and potato skins yesterday, so it wasn't very romantic, but it was delicious. But no cheesecake for Callie yesterday. But I'm glad you had cookies. Thanks for telling me about the freaking cookies. I didn't have a cookie.
It was like that tiny. It was a tiny, tiny
Oh,
cookie.
okay. Well, that's why you didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise I'm like, we didn't talk about you having cookies. What the hell? Well, because Craig loves cookies. That's like Craig's
Hmm.
favorite dessert to have is cookies. So that's why I'm saying you didn't even tell me you had cookies. Because I'm like, they should have been good. Anyway, um, I do want to ask you just a few more questions and then we'll let you get out of here because I don't want to keep you hostage all night. I'm sorry. I could though, because I'm having so much fun with you.
I'm open.
Um, do you, and I think I asked you this question. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm going to let you choose. How about this? Let's flip this around. Do you want a writing question or do you want a New York City question? And it's totally up to you. I won't carry it away because I have so many questions here. So it's
Let,
up to you.
let's do a writing question.
Okay. Do you listen to music when you write?
Sometimes. I think it usually really depends on the mood. Most often I will not. Um,
Mm,
but if I really feel like I need to be in like an atmospheric headspace, I'll put on music.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
try to cater the music to what I'm writing,
Hmm.
just so that way it's like, I don't know if it actually does, but in my mind, if the music can influence the
Yeah.
word hit the page, then that
Yeah.
would be very useful.
Yeah, it does that for me. I have like a couple so I have a couple songs, and I've said this a few times, so it's probably super boring for anyone who listens to the podcast. But a lot of times I just listen to music. I listen to a lot of J-pop and K-pop and C-pop. So I don't understand the lyrics, but I can feel what they're saying. So that puts me in the right headspace. And it actually works better for me because I'm not listening to the lyrics. So I'm not being influenced by what someone's saying, but I can feel the emotion. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, that does. That's really smart. I never thought about that, but I do get distracted by lyrics sometimes.
I'm big into lyrics. So if I'm listening to lyrics, then I'm not going to work on the writing. But yeah, like there's do you watch anime? I can't remember if we've talked about that before. You watch any anime or no?
I do on occasion, yeah.
Yeah, there's an anime and it's horrible. Okay, so I'm not advocating that anybody should watch it. It's called 86. Okay, wait, before anyone says they hate me because I said that their favorite anime is horrible. It is a very good anime. It is very sad. It is very, very sad. Like I cried. Like I couldn't even make it through the whole show, Trey, because I was crying way too much. Like it was just too depressing. But there is a song. I have yet to translate the lyrics because it makes me cry so much. And I don't even know what the hell she's singing about. But it makes me cry, like, because I can just feel like the pain. You know what I mean? So anytime that I needed to write something that, which I'm not a very sad writer. I try not to write things that invoke sadness too much just because I feel like I like to be happy. So I want people to be happy. I like to live in my little fairy world where everyone's happy, you know? There's cotton candy everywhere. You know what I mean? So yeah. But when I was writing anything sad, I would put that song on and then I'm like, but it works every single time. So I definitely listen to music when I write, but yeah, not music I can understand. Craig, why don't you tell Trey what kind of music you listen to when you write certain things?
So I know what you're getting at. So back when I was a teenager, I was really big into like Christian pop and Christian rock. And so my iTunes is filled with this stuff, and I'm too cheap to buy music nowadays. So I just listen to like Christian pop and rock while writing dirty erotica. Like I'm writing the filthiest stuff, and I have praise and worship music in my ears.
I don't even know what to say.
If it works.
It worked.
Craig. Okay, but to be fair, I have a Spotify dual plan that he's allowed to use the other half of. I just have to show him how to use Spotify. So and it's been like 2 months now. Has it been like 2 months, Craig, that we've been pushing this off?
I think so.
I feel like we have like a task list every day that we go through, Trey, and like the tasks just roll, but like the one of them is the Spotify. It just like keeps going. Like I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to show you how to use Spotify again. So I got to get him set up and then maybe he'll have some other music. I don't know.
Deviate from the praise and worship.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do listen to other stuff as well. There's
Yes,
a
yes.
web radio station that I listen to that does acid jazz, so I listen to that quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you signed up for Duo, buddy. We're gonna get you signed up. Don't worry. You know what acid jazz is? I don't.
So
Mm-mm.
it's not actually jazz. Everyone is like, "Ooh, it's jazz." It's not
Mhm.
jazz. Short description, it's when you mix two genres together.
Oh,
So quite often I'm listening to something that's like a bit of a mix between world music and electronica.
oh,
Quite often, sometimes it'll be
nice.
jazz that has a bit of a beat that you don't find in jazz.
Yeah.
Um, so it's wide ranging, and it's weird sometimes, which I enjoy. Sometimes it's too weird, and I go over to the praise and worship music.
Will you? We have another question, and you guys were best friends. I'm gonna ask you, can you ask him the question that I wanted to ask because it's your turn to ask a question, but I want you to ask it. I don't want to waste too much time, but will you ask him the question that I wanted the most?
Is it the one where I was asking clarification on the question?
No, I don't know. It was the one that I said. I love asking people that. Right.
Hang on. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I said, I was like, You were like, oh, I like that question. And I'm like, I love asking people that question because I think it's so interesting to find out their answer. We're a well-oiled machine here, Trey. Oh my God, forget it. I'm gonna skip your turn.
Yeah, you can skip my turn. I think I'm thinking of the wrong one.
Are you? Okay. Who do you trust to read your stories before you submit them to publishers? Who's the person you trust the most? Oh
Well,
God, unless that's going to get you in trouble for saying who you trust the most, but or just who do you usually let read your stories before you submit them? If that's better.
yeah, I think currently there's not really anyone who's reading my stuff before it's submitted. I
Oh,
hold things really close
yeah.
to the chest. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm a little superstitious. And I feel like if I share too much about something before it's like on the way, like before it gets that yes, I
Mhm.
jinx myself. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
very often keeping like the actual words to myself. Um,
Mm.
I will say though, when I started writing, like actually seriously writing stories, my friend Hannah, was like always one of the people I was sharing words with. And she was writing at the time too, and she was always sharing with me. So we were like always sending things back and forth to each other. That was
Ah,
really
that's so cute. I love that. Yeah, I feel that way too. I don't I like I show my husband my stuff and well obviously Craig because Craig is Craig's everything. You can't even define it at this point. Craig does everything for me. That's it. So Craig gets to see the story all the time. But that must be really exciting for you then when you get to go through the editing process because you're actually getting like feedback on your story then for like the first time, right?
yeah, more yeah, usually the first time. I was in school for quite a few years, but I
Mm-hmm.
never really like shared excerpts of novels in class. So like things
Mm-hmm.
I could feedback on in class were things that were like written for class.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I think that is probably part of the reason why the editing process is really exciting, just because I get to see how someone else is reacting to it, see how things are landing. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's also stressful, but like it's
yeah,
fun, but it's also very stressful.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah. Don't you say like you know.
Well,
You're
I
the one that
don't
does
let
it to
anyone.
everybody.
I don't let anyone read my writing. I don't let my husband read it. I don't think he's read a single book of mine.
oh really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, no, you're not allowed.
I feel like I don't know, maybe things are different for you guys. Um, I feel like people who are like closer to you are okay. I was listening to a writer do a talk once, and he said, if you ever have a secret you want to keep from your family, put it in the middle of your book. Because he was bringing up a good point that like people in your life might not be really more or less aren't reading your stuff. Um, and I
Hmm.
feel like that can be kind of true.
Mm-hmm.
Cases like Craig where you just won't let them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have my husband he lets me read everything to him, but we just like trade off, Trey. Because like if he wants like a head massage, then I just have my phone open, I'm reading the manuscript, and I'm just like massaging his head. So that's how it works. Like he's like, my back's hurting, and I'm like, sure, I'll rub your back if you listen to the story. So then I just read the manuscript. Like he's heard You Can Call Me Cooper. Like I probably couldn't put a number on it. Like maybe 100 times now. He's heard the whole story from beginning to end, and it's a long ass story. But yeah, aside from him, then no, I don't. There's no one else that I
Feedback?
let.
Does he tell you his opinions on things, or
He
do you?
does. Well, you know what? And I said this in the beginning. I've said it on another episode, but what works really well for us is that I tell him what I'm looking for.
Mhm.
So, because there was one time where he made a mistake, and I said something, and he was like, "Oh, I don't really know if that should be like," and I was like, "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" I don't know. I didn't know. I wasn't asking like if you thought it should be that way. So, and that was like the first time, like when I had written the story, like it was probably like I was like a chapter in or so. And then from then on, I said, when I read to you, I will tell you what I'm looking for. So I'll ask, I'll say, I want you to just tell me if this flows. If it flows and it doesn't sound disjointed, that's what I want to know. Or, at the end of a chapter, I'll say, how did this character come across? So it's just being very careful about saying like what I want, what the feedback is that I want. Because, yeah, I don't want him to be like, oh, that sucked. Because if he says that sucks, then he's not going to get a back rub, right? And I'm going to be pissed off. But he would never. But you know what I mean? I think it's important to just say what you want, and then that works really well for us. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, I don't know. And then for Craig, I have to beg for feedback. So it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you want? Tell me anything that you got. Tell me what you got. Did this come out? And then my husband's like, but you trust everything that Craig says? I'm like, yes. Whatever Craig says is fine. There's times, Trey, like when we're in the parking lot and I'm about to get hit by a car. It's probably happened 3 times now, because like people drive terribly here. So like there'll be like an elderly person coming in like in the spot behind me, and I'm like, tell Craig he can do whatever he wants, but he can't make this couple fight. I don't care about anything else. And my husband's like, I am so tired of your last words being that you're leaving your stuff to Craig. But I do, it's nice for me because I do have someone that I trust, and I do trust Craig, like, and I trust him just 100% with my manuscript. So whatever he tells me to do, I'm going to do, which is pretty cool to have someone that I trust that much. But yeah,
So
it is.
I hope you remember that when I edit your book.
Yes, I will keep that in mind.
Okay, well, I don't think it extends to everyone. Okay, I don't think everyone sees you the way that I see you. You have to build that with people, okay? But yes, Trey, you should trust him because he's a great writer and a great editor. So, sure. Hi, baby. Oh, the kitty's here. Hi, Shagger. Shagger, say hi to Trey. He's like, so handsome.
Ew.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to ask him?
Maybe this could like not be in the podcast, but I know you really wanted to know what Corbin Blue was like.
Oh, yeah, I did. That's fine. Thank you for reminding me. I
That's
did.
what,
Thank
when I
you.
was confused over which question you wanted, that's what I was thinking.
You're such a good bestie. See, he knew. He knew. Okay. So yeah. Do you want me to say this on the podcast? Or do you want me to cut it out? Because I want to know the truth.
I don't know if I have much to say. I
Oh, it
mean,
was really nothing? Okay. Well, that's
it
fine.
was
Then I'm gonna keep it in. Was he super nice when you met him?
he was very nice. I went to see Little Shop of Horrors, and he was in the show. So
Oh.
I hung around after to meet him and get him to sign my playbill.
Mhm.
And it's freezing cold, it's the middle of the night, and we're standing out in a crowd of a bunch of theater slash High School Musical fans trying to see Corbin Blue. Constance Wu was also in the show, so people were trying to see her too. And we're standing in the front of this crowd, but there's like a partial gate in front of the theater.
Mhm.
And the security guy at the door tells us, um, if you go to the end, uh, you'll still get a chance to talk to him, but you won't have this gate. Like it'll be like a more like
Yeah.
specific experience. So we go to the end. We go fully to the end. We're the last people in line. So he comes out. He's one of the last people to come out of the theater. And he comes out and he goes through this entire line of people, and he gets to us and he thanks us for like waiting. Like so like
Aw.
that was really nice. Like he was like really appreciative that we wanted to see him that much. And he
Aw.
was happy to take pictures with us and sign the things. It was a nice interaction.
Oh, that's cool. I thought he looked nice. He has just such a friendly face, and like plus like I don't know, I don't want to like bring up age. I mean, age isn't that big of a deal usually for some people, but was High School Musical popular for you, or did you miss that time? Like was it too young for you, or was it the right
No,
time for you?
I was right in there. I honestly can't remember how old I was when it came
Mm-hmm.
out, but I
Mm-hmm.
know like it was everyone around
Yeah.
me was also
Yeah.
good.
I always just like picture him doing the baseball dance, like during the like whenever I saw him, I was like, yeah, I don't dance. Like, and he had the baseball bat, you know?
Yeah. High School Musical was definitely a cultural moment for me and the people around me.
Yeah, I liked him so much in that. I really did. I like that. It's been so long since I've seen it though. Like I wonder, have you watched it in a long time? I wonder how it holds up
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have watched it since it came
since it
out.
was
That's
good,
not
right?
true. Yeah, I think
Uh,
I did sit down with some people and like watch half of the first one
hmm
just for funsies. Uh,
hmm
we laughed.
Yeah, because it's funny how something like, during its time, like it's good. And then like as it ages, you're like, oh, this is real bad. This is
Yeah,
real bad. So I was wondering if that was one of those things, like if we watch it now, we're like, oh, this is terrible. But yeah, I'm glad to know that he was nice. And Constance, whoa, I bet was
yeah,
really great
she
too.
they were both really good.
Yeah.
I think I forgot what Corbin Blue's voice sounded like,
Oh,
but
really?
seeing him perform like live, like he has like this really full-bodied voice that just like really stole the show.
That's cool. Yeah, really cool. I wasn't sure where you were going when you said full bodied, because I was like, he, I haven't seen him lately. I only seen he was like bundled up in the picture. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure where we were going, but I'm glad. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us. It was so nice to meet you. And it was just so nice to have you here and to chat with you and like to learn all about everything. And I'm so excited about your book with Dreamsphere next year. Like, that's just the coolest.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was really happy to be here. I've been listening to the show, so it was really nice to be on this side of it.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And then before we let you go, will you tell people? Well, before we let you go, I'm going to remind everyone that Trey is the featured author for the Deep Hearts YA newsletter that will be coming out on the 19th of this month. So if you are not signed up for the newsletter, you need to go to www.deepheartsya.com and sign up for the newsletter so you can learn even more about Trey. And now, Trey, would you tell people where they can find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram, calming_insanity, and then I'm on Twitter as Trey_the_author. I hope I'm remembering my ats correctly.
If not, then in the podcast page where it says like who the guest is, it'll have it. So they could click that. So they could click that. So that'll be fine. So don't worry. But yeah, thank you again so much for joining us.
Yeah, we had a fantastic time. It was great to meet you visually and auditorially. Because we've communicated online for well over a year now. So
Yeah,
it's always interesting to see and hear someone for the first time, especially someone so interesting. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, me
so
too. Me too. And now it's time for coffee with Callie and Craig. I had fun.
I had a fantastic time. He always has such interesting stuff to say.
Yeah, yeah. I really like him. I'm such a fan, but you know, he was really interesting. And like since I came from Long Island, I love hearing about the city because we really didn't go to city that much when we were kids. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to just hear like how different it is because like New York's really not that big of a place.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the size of the state, but it's really like two different worlds.
Yeah, yeah. Like I come from a small city, like we're a city, but we're not that big. But I've always liked visiting big cities, and
Hmm
I think New York is a place I'd like, especially after the things he's said about it.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go like during Christmas time. I've always wanted to go to the city and go like shopping there, but maybe someday, who knows? But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then the next episode coming up is going to be another one of our authors, but that is a Deep Desires Press author.
Yeah, so we might get a little spicy on that episode.
Yeah, we might. And that is Jordan Clayton Lewis will be joining us to talk about his new book.
Such a Small World. It's a sequel
Mhm.
to When Things Happen Together.
Yep. So we'll get to talk to him. And if you don't follow Jordan Clayton Lewis on Instagram, you really should be following him too, because he has some of the most fantastic pictures I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like,
he's always somewhere interesting.
I know, like, I can't wait to talk to him about that because his life looks like a fairy tale. Like, it's so, like, everything is gorgeous that he takes pictures of, like these breathtaking waterfalls and stuff. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that with him. So yeah, that will be next. We let Trey go and we did not have him give us the final thought.
So I knew that we were going to have to do the final thoughts. I think I have one ready if you're okay with me taking it on.
I'm always okay with you taking it on. It means less work for me.
Yeah. So the key part about writing that I got from that discussion with Trey was if you're writing something and it's just not working or it's not clicking or it's not something's off about it, take a step back and ask, are you writing the right story? Is it your story? Does it reflect the characters you want to create? Does it reflect the cultures or the plots that you want to showcase? Are you writing your story? And if you're not, then maybe you want to do that little bit of reframing, restarting, find the authentic you in that story, and it'll probably work a lot easier from there on in.
That's good advice. Good job, bestie.
Well, we have to thank Trey for that because that's basically me parroting what he
That's
said.
true. It's true. It's true. Well, you know what that means, though. That means we're just gonna have to have Trey on the show again.
Probably, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he's got a book coming out in February 2025, so we can
Yeah.
put him on the calendar for then.
That's about how far we're backed up with guests. So yeah,
We
I think
are,
that
yes.
I think that will work out really, really well. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And Craig, where can people find us?
They can find us on Twitter, X, and TikTok at Cali Craig Talk, which is CaliCraigTalk.
That's right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye-bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, though, but bye. For real, bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.